The question of why God created man in his image and elevated humanity to a high status is one of the most deeply explored topics in theology and biblical scholarship. Various interpretations are offered by scholars, theologians, and religious traditions, often based on key biblical texts and the theological understanding of human nature and purpose. Let's break this down. 1. Creation of man in God's image. Imago Dei. In Genesis chapter 1 verses 26 to 27, the Bible states that God created humans in his image and likeness. Greater than, then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." So God created mankind in his own image, in the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. What does image of God mean? Scholars and theologians offer several interpretations. Relational aspect. Some theologians, such as Karl Barth, emphasize that being created in God's image means humans are designed for relationships, both with God and with one another. The communal and relational nature of humanity mirrors the relational nature of the Trinity. Moral and spiritual nature. Many scholars argue that being in God's image refers to human moral, rational, and spiritual capacities, which reflect the character of God. This includes the ability to make moral choices, understand right from wrong, and engage in spiritual communion with God. Dominion and stewardship. Others focus on the mandate given to humanity in Genesis chapter 1 verse 28 to have dominion over creation. Being made in God's image means humanity shares in God's authority to care for and govern the world. This interpretation ties the Imago Dei to a role of stewardship and responsibility toward creation. Free will and creativity. Some scholars highlight that humans possess free will and creative abilities, echoing God's creative power in the act of creation. This allows humans to shape the world, make decisions, and exercise moral freedom. 2. Why did God create humans in his image? Various theological perspectives attempt to explain the purpose behind this divine action, relationship with God. Many theologians believe that God created humans to be in a loving and reciprocal relationship with him. The fact that humanity bears God's image reflects this intimate connection. St. Augustine famously suggested that the human heart is restless until it finds rest in God, emphasizing that humans are created with a deep yearning for union with their Creator. Manifesting God's glory. Another common interpretation is that humans were made to reflect God's glory in the world. By living in accordance with God's will and exercising their unique capacities, humans glorify God. This is supported by passages like Isaiah chapter 43 verse 7, where God says he created people for his glory. Co-rulers with God. Humanity's role as stewards of creation, Genesis chapter 1 verse 28, is seen as part of God's plan to share his authority with humans. Theologians like N.T. Wright argue that humans are meant to act as God's representatives on earth, reflecting his wisdom, justice, and care for the created order. 3. Why is humanity given a special status? Biblical scholars often explain humanity's elevated status by emphasizing several themes. Unique creation. Unlike the rest of creation, which was brought into existence by God's command, the creation of humans is described in more intimate terms. In Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, God forms man from the dust and breathes life into him. This special creation process signals humanity's unique place in the divine order. Moral responsibility. Humanity's higher status also brings with it moral responsibility. Humans are tasked with reflecting God's holiness and living according to his moral laws. The concept of being in God's image implies that humans are held to a higher standard of righteousness and are capable of communion with God in ways other creatures are not. Covenantal relationship. Throughout Scripture, God enters into covenants with humans, e.g., Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses. This shows God's special regard for humanity and his desire to work through them in his redemptive plan for creation. These covenants highlight humanity's role in participating in God's purposes. 4. Humanity's fall and redemption. While humans are created in the image of God, the fall, Genesis chapter 3, introduces sin into the world, distorting that image. Theologians like Augustine and Aquinas argue that while humans retain the image of God, it is marred by sin. The rest of the biblical narrative, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, can be seen as God's plan to restore humanity to its original dignity and purpose. Christ as the perfect image. In Christian theology, Jesus Christ is viewed as the perfect image of God, Colossians chapter 1 verse 15. Through Christ's life, death, and resurrection, humanity can be restored to full communion with God. Many theologians argue that Jesus, as the second Adam, shows what it means to live fully in the image of God and invites humanity to follow him into restored life with God. 5. Conclusion. The Bible and its interpreters present a profound view of humanity as bearing the image of God, made to reflect God's character and purpose. Humanity's unique status is grounded in God's love and desire for a relationship with humans, as well as in the responsibility humans have to care for creation. Ultimately, Christian theology sees this special status as a call to live according to God's will and to be restored through Christ, the perfect image of God.